Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.
I think I played the wrong thing. I think I picked the closing, but we're here for Blinkers Off today, number 678. And I've got a special guest with me, Ryan Stillman, back on the show. He's on from time to time. He's going to fill in for Jared tonight. Ryan, are you excited, and how you doing?
Hey, Aaron, honored to be on. And it's fitting that you sort of might have hit the wrong thing because it's just a backwards thing. I'm coming in. We did a little loop, time travel. And yeah, man, I'm pumped. Lots of fun racing to discuss, right, Aaron? Last weekend was amazing. And boy, do we have a good one this week.
I love the summer racing, dude. Like it's my favorite time of year, Saratoga and Del Mar, when they're going on at the same time, all those weekends, like 5 or 6 weekends. I just love every second of it. And yeah, these shows are so much fun for me because you get to recap at the beginning, like we're going to do, what happened last week. And then you get to look ahead, and it's both awesome. Like every weekend at Saratoga and Del Mar is awesome. So it's going to be great. With that being said, let's recap what happened in the Jim Dandy. That was the big race last weekend up at Saratoga. Fierceness gets the job done. Sierra Leone second. Ryan, I was watching this race, and I thought it's going exactly like I thought. Fierceness is better than all the other horses Sierra Leone's better than all the other horses minus Fierceness. Here they are at the top of the stretch. Will Fierceness fire, or will he not? And Sierra Leone wins, and Fierceness fired. What were your thoughts?
Well, first of all, you called it. I mean, I love this race. I thought we saw Dornoch just like elevate his game and show that he's a serious racehorse. In case people were on the fence, I feel like there's no questions now. If you have two eyes, you believe it. And then in this race, boy, if you back Sierra Leone, he gave you everything you wanted and more, according to the numbers, right? Ran the best race of his life. And Fierceness, what a fantastic ride. What a fantastic horse when he fires. And just what an exciting Jim Dandy. I feel like it was a real heart-stopping race, man.
It was, I agree. And when they came up to the top of the stretch, and like I said, you could tell like Sierra Leone was making a bigger move than he made in the Belmont, for sure. You could tell he was really making that big move. And it's like, okay, he's got the other ones. Will Fierceness flop here, and Sierra Leone's going to win by 3 or 4, or will he fire and kind of kick on? I thought a little bit of both happened, not the flopping, but it was closer than I thought it would be, assuming Fierceness was going to fire, right? He kind of had to dig in a little bit, and I thought it was impressive that he was able to dig in a little bit, and you hit it on the head, and Jared completely dismisses the ride and doesn't think it was anything special. I thought it was fantastic. I thought Johnny V did absolutely everything perfect on this horse. If you watch the pre-race interview, and I think there's not many jockeys you can get something from in the pre-race interview, but with Johnny V, you can tell what he says is really what he's planning on doing. And he said, what I've learned about this horse, he said, and I have no idea why he doesn't fire, but he said, the one thing I know about him, he's a free running horse. So what I'm going to do today is let him do whatever he wants and keep him away from everybody. And he did it step by step. He did it. He wasn't on the lead, but he wasn't really pressing those horses inside. He was just out in the middle of the track, just letting him do his thing. And I thought it was a big key. He kept him out in the middle in the stretch until he needed to. He just decided, I'm keeping him out of trouble. I'm keeping him away from everybody. I'm letting him do whatever he wants, and let's see what happens. And it worked. I thought it was a really, really impressive ride.
Absolutely agree. And I think you broke that down beautifully. And what an interesting horse this Fierceness is.
Yep.
Like, I don't fault anyone for fading him in that race.
No.
Credit to everyone who picked him in that race at the same time.
Yes.
And it's just this crazy thing because how many 2-year-old champions do we see that don't come back and do anything? And this is this weird horse where like you can make a case he's lived up to the hype or he hasn't lived up to the hype, or he's like the only horse I've ever seen as a 2-year-old where it's like he's delivered and disappointed all at the same time. And I have tons of respect for him, but boy, what a unique champion he is, huh?
Yeah, if you caught the show last week, my dad and I talked about it. And like from a pick 5, like positive expected value situation, you're really not supposed to play Fierceness and Sierra Leone in a pick 5. You're supposed to pick one and go on. And I said, what I always have hated about blanket statements like this is it doesn't, yes, I know mathematically that's the way, but there are some situations where logically you really can't do that. And this is one of them where, if Sierra Leone fires, he's better than every horse in the race, but Fierceness. But then you can't single Fierceness because he has a tendency to run dead last if he doesn't show up, or he might run off the screen. So you just kind of had to choke it down, even though that's really not what you're supposed to do, and you shouldn't do that long term. And really, maybe you shouldn't do it more than a handful of times all year if you're betting these things. But that was just one of those situations. You just couldn't feel comfortable either way, but you knew one of the two were going to win the race. So it was a weird situation. But anyway, I'm with you. It was fantastic. And look, when he fires, he's fun, and when he doesn't, he is a whole lot of not fun. That's how I'll describe him. Let's flip it to the Travers talk now.
I'm so excited you're bringing this up, Aaron. Pumped.
Isn't it exciting? So first of all, if you missed it, Kenny McPeak does come on Saratoga Live and announces Torpedo Anna going to the Travers. So that is amazing.
And that was before the race, right, Aaron? I mean, he came on, which is pretty gutsy too. He doesn't know what's going to happen there, and he's saying we're going for it.
I like two things about it. One, he came on and did it. It is a big announcement. Go do it on the show. I love that. Don't go tell a guy. No, this is no offense to DRF, but don't go tell a guy DRF, and then he goes back to computer and he types it up, and it's a story the next morning. Don't do that. Go and tell the people. But anyway, I love that. And two, I loved he didn't drag it out. He said, this is where we're going. Now, obviously, in horse racing, things can happen, but he said, we're doing it. Okay, we can quit talking about if, and now we can talk about when and how fun that's going to be. But to Kevin B's point, he said he wants no part of him in the Travers, talking about Fierceness. Right after the race, Todd Pletcher goes, I don't think we'll run in the Travers. Pennsylvania Derby seems like the logical play. He needs more time. This week, Mike Rapoli, the owner, has come out and said, I think we're leaning Travers. So I think we're going Travers with Fierceness. So we have got a situation now where you've got Dornoch, who is the leading 3-year-old male. Torpedo Anna, the leading 3-year-old female. Fierceness, I think, is going to be there. Muth is going to be there as of right now for Bob Baffert. And then you got Sierra Leone, and then a kind of the host of the others, I would describe him. So early thoughts on the Travers. I guess I'll ask you directly, Torpedo Anna, do you think she can match up?
Wow. First of all, before I answer it, to me, this set up the race of the year so far, bar none. Even if you're not a huge horse racing fan, you've got to watch this. It's almost like there are multiple championships on the line here. If she does this, she literally makes and wins it. She literally makes a case where you can say she's horse of the year. If she wins the distaff after, for sure. Yeah. It's going to be hard because she's been undefeated. And honestly, horse racing would probably want to reward her for the fact that she literally brought horse racing to another level in a race. She doesn't have to do this. I mean, honestly, she's already locked up her division. Would you say that's fair, Aaron?
Oh, totally.
So to do this is great sportsmanship. It's awesome for fans. And honestly, I think she's earned it. Let's see if she can do something incredible. To answer your question, her numbers say she can do it. I'm certainly going to be rooting for her. My only thought is this. Boy, coming into it, right before these last two preps, the Haskell and the Jim Day, I mean, there was no question to me. But boy, Dornoch has shown so much heart and grit that, you do wonder, if this horse is going to test him. Dornoch's not going to fold. We know that if he shows up. Yeah. And then even if Fierceness is out of the picture, Sierra Leone improved here. Does he take one more step forward? I mean, what do they do there? Chad Brown's a master at just getting horses to do a little bit better. And we know he peaks his horses where he wants them to. And his ultimate goal wasn't the Jim Dandy. It's the Travers. Because the 3-year-old champion's still up for grabs, and it probably gets decided there. So to answer your question, I think she does, dude. But I won't be shocked if we see an elevation and it's a little closer than people think. I'd love your take, and hopefully that's not a stupid one, because I'd love to hear what you got to say about it.
It's not a stupid one at all. I think that when it's the eye test, I think she's the winner. But when you really break down the numbers and how these 3-year-olds who weren't the greatest, they weren't bad, but they weren't the greatest maybe during the Triple Crown run, they're getting better. I thought the Haskell was a really good performance by Dornoch. I agree with you. And I really thought they ran well. I mean, Sierra Leone's a horse that people are liking to kick him while he's down right now. He ran really well, folks. And if Fierceness doesn't show up in that race, all the people that are kicking Sierra Leone are going, I think he's the favorite in the Travers. He just won the Jim Dandy by 5. And so that's what you got to remember. We knew going into that race, if Fierceness fires, well, Sierra Leone's not going to catch that horse. So I kind of looked at it like, I'm not really knocking him. He did okay. So what I'm trying to say is I think the group is improving. This is her toughest test by far. It's not going to be a walkover. Like I remember when Rachel Alexander ran in the Haskell, for example, she passed the eye test or the Preakness. The Preakness would be the first one against the boys. She passed the eye test and she passed the numbers test and the times and all of that. Where this, it's like, yeah, Torpedo Anna isn't a huge standout by the numbers. Now, what does that mean? Maybe not much, because the other thing, the flip side of it is they really haven't asked her to do any running yet. So as John likes to say, maybe she got we'll just throw out a whatever, 95 buyer or whatever, but it's a 95 plus, which means, yeah, this is the buyer they've assigned to her. However, she can run faster. We know she can because she's still in first gear. So that's the flip side of it as well. So I think it's going to be the best race of the year if we get everybody that's pointing to it, if they actually show up. And I couldn't tell you who I'm going to pick right now. I kind of lean towards the filly at this point, but you're not wrong. These horses are getting better. We're seeing better races from these 3-year-olds as the summer goes. So I couldn't be more excited for it. One horse I want to ask you about before we move on, Seize the Gray. I know that's kind of your boy. Just didn't run at all. Do we just draw a line through that one? I mean, Lucas said we're going to the Travers. I was surprised he kind of wasn't towards the front. Maybe draw a line through that one for him.
It's a great question. For people who don't know, I kind of, I work for one of the owners of the horse and my racehorse I work with. And I really love this horse. And it's an interesting thing because I don't know what to make of Seize the Gray, if I'm just being completely honest. I think he's very talented. I think he was underappreciated and he showed it. He won back-to-back races during the Triple Crown season. The Pat Day race was not a Triple Crown race, but dang, that was impressive. And then he won the Preakness and showed what he's made of. I never count the coach out.
Yep.
But I don't know what is up with this horse because I feel like I honestly, sorry to blabber on here. I just don't know what to make of him, Aaron. I kind of would love your opinion. I like him. I think he's better than he put on that performance there. I don't know if the distance is the question, if he's exhausted. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
It could be a lot of things. I thought the Belmont, he did kind of, it was a speed favoring track, but he did get pressed and maybe he was tired. This race, it's like he just never wanted to do much. So I don't really know what to make of this race. That was a little bit worrisome. Kevin B saying for listen on the podcast, I will read this one. He said Lucas said he was way off in the paddock and knew right away it wasn't his day. So I think, if that's the case, maybe he bounces back. And you said it. Sometimes the coach his horses will just throw a clunker and then they'll come back. So we'll see. He's a Preakness winner. He deserves to be there. We'll see if he can do anything. That's kind of how I'll leave it at that. So, hey, let's go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know. Good luck to him. And just the son of Arrogate and RIP to Arrogate, who loved the Travers. But go ahead. Let's move on because we have, speaking of champion horses, and Arrogate was a champion. We got a champion horse running tomorrow on Saturday, don't we, Aaron?
Yep, we absolutely do. So, yeah, we'll move on there. That's a good segue there. Ryan, I'll put it up on the screen now. So on today's show, we are going to cover the Whitney, the Test, and the Clement L. Hirsch. And then we're going to have a little fun with the 2-year-old racing and what's coming up or what's already happened and just a little bit of what's coming up this weekend there. So that's the show for today. Let's kick it right off now for the Whitney. And look, it's going to be, it's the main event of the weekend. There's no doubt about it. It will go off race 11 on Saturday, August 3rd here at Saratoga. And it will go 1 1/8 $1 million grade 1 event. We are used to seeing 6-horse fields for this race. We've gotten double that. We've got 12 lined up here, Ryan. You mentioned them. There is a horse that's on his way to a championship. Let's see if he can finish the deal. That's number 3 National Treasure at 9-5. I'll let you kick it off with National Treasure. I know that's a horse that you've got a lot of faith in.
Oh, I love him. I think his performance at Saratoga was out of this world on Belmont Undercard Day. I remember watching that with my family and they don't know about horse racing. They're like, who's that? And I was like, that horse lost by a nose to the horse of the year last year. And they're like, wow, somebody beat that horse. It's incredible. He's on a trajectory where I think if he wins this race, we'll get to that later on, but it's exciting. He's the Preakness winner. I said champion. He's not yet. I'm getting excited. This is what's exciting. This test that he's about to get, this is like, in the United States, it's like one of the better older horse races we're going to see all year.
Yep.
This is no walk in the park. I'm a real big believer in National Treasure. I will not be shocked if he loses here. We have seen some freaky things leading up to this, have we not, Aaron? Charge It. His last race was so dynamite and spectacular. Wow. Yeah. Then you've got, I mean, you looking down this field, First Mission, who, you know, you've given up on, but it's like, does he just kind of freak again and finally live up to his potential? Dude, I am excited for this race because I think we could see the horse of the year come out of it, but we could also see a monkey punch thrown right into the mix again. And
I think when you talk about horse of the year, we were talking about Torpedo Anna, and I think if she wins the Travers, they're going to have to rise their game up to get to her, to beat her for horse of the year. But there's two scenarios. What if she loses? Okay, then she's probably not going to get horse of the year. And the second scenario is, what if National Treasure keeps racking up wins? And he's the only horse to me, if Torpedo Anna wins the Travers, National Treasure is the only horse that can still beat her out, because if he can win this one, and then say he goes and wins the Breeders' Cup Classic, that'd give him the Classic, the Whitney, and the Pegasus, and the Met Mile. That's a big race too. That's a hell of a resume. But you said it. We are used to seeing 6-horse fields like he beat in the Met Mile. Now, it may be a 6-horse field where like there's a star, and then there's him, and then they're kind of fillers, but it's still, this is a different situation for him, because in the Met Mile, he went fast, but he was by himself. This race, he's going to have to do more of the Pegasus style of race back in January, where I don't necessarily think he can take this field gate to wire and hold on to win, because there looks to be other speed. But I think the thing is, Ryan, he showed in the Pegasus, and I thought that was still his most impressive race from a tactics standpoint. He showed if they went fast, he will sit off of them. And that's kind of the dimension that you wanted him to show in that race, and he did it. So you look at this one and you go, there's speed signed on. They should go fast. I think the key for him will be settling off that speed if it happens, because I've seen some comments saying, at 1 1/8, if he goes really fast, that's when you can get him. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think he goes really fast part is the key to it. I think he's probably absolutely best at 1 mile, but we saw in the Pegasus, he can sit and he can stretch to 1 1/8. If he shows up at the Pegasus race, I think this one's over. If he doesn't, I think it could be a number of horses. You mentioned you mentioned a few of them, like a First Mission, who kind of was just bad last time out. Well, he could maybe bounce back. How about our old buddy Disarm? What if this horse finally puts it all together? I think it's more likely, Ryan, he hits the board, because that's just what he does. Last time out, he had an excuse. He had a quarter crack. He was wearing a bar shoe. Supposedly it's doing a little bit better. He could jump up here and he can compete his best race, like his race he ran in the Travers, can compete here. Bright Future, second off a layoff. Won here last year, not in the Whitney, but won the Jockey Club here last year in a big win. You kind of mentioned Skippy Longstocking. What about Arthur's Ride? I mean, he's moving up, but man, he looked really good last time out. So I kind of told it like that, and I'll see if you agree with me on this point, and then we can kind of move on to another question I've got for you. But Magic was talking. He's like, I think I'm going to single National Treasure, but I'm just a little bit worried. I said, here's the deal. I think if he loses, I don't think it's likely you have the horse that beats him, because I feel like it's going to be National Treasure or it's going to be a 15-1 shot.
I like that thinking, Aaron. I do.
Because to me, it's just like, is there really a big difference? Let's just take Bright Future or First Mission, either one. Okay, this isn't really a knock on them. It's just kind of my thoughts on them. Is there really that big a difference between, let's say, First Mission, Bright Future versus Disarm and Croupy and Post Time? They're pretty similar, in my opinion, but the odds aren't going to be similar.
I like your thinking, and look, here's the big question to you with this. If National Treasure fires his race, is he beatable?
I don't think so.
Okay. And then let me ask you this. Bob Baffert, who the industry has basically, I mean, talk about a guy who has been kicked, spit on, whether right or wrong, because I know it's crazy. It's like we live just in a political country split down the middle. Same with Bob Baffert. There's the lovers and the haters with this guy.
Right.
But with this guy that he is coming for that Horse of the Year championship, and he knows that. I honestly think if he loses this race, I mean, it's going to be a hard road he's got to climb out of. Do you have any doubt he's going to fire his race with Baffert? Obviously, anything can happen, but with that kind of situation with our trainer here.
Yeah. Not any more worry than any horse ever. I think when you get into handicapping, the one thing you realize is it's tough to predict when they're not going to fire. And sometimes they just don't. And how could you have seen it coming? Now, sometimes you can, but I worry more about he's kind of got an inside draw. If they do speed it up and he doesn't want to relax, that's more of my worry than, he just didn't show up today. Because the deal is with this horse, really, when you think about it, he has only really not shown up a couple times after he won the Preakness. They tried the Belmont and the Travers. He still wasn't who he is right now then, right? But for whatever reason, the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, the Pegasus, the race over in Saudi, the Saudi Cup, and the Met Mile, he's different. The Breeders' Cup Mile, he's different. He almost beat Cody's Wish. At a mile, he almost beat Cody's Wish. That is not easy. And say what you will, he probably should have beat him. He got bumped, and it probably cost him the race, in all fairness to this horse, right? But it doesn't matter. He's just become a different horse. And if he's that horse, if he's the past 4 races horse, I think he's better. If he's not, I don't know that he hits the board. Like, even his Preakness self, I don't think will compete in this group.
Great answer. And so then for all the bettors out there would love to know this, Aaron. Like, these are the kind of things I would question. Mm-hmm. Text to you. It's like, okay, so let's say somebody comes up to you and they're like, I'm not betting National Treasure. I've got to go somewhere else. And you've got to give me one name. Who are you going with, bro?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think that is important. Really from an odds perspective, it's just like, okay, how low do you want to take on him? I think realistically, you need to think he's going to be, 6, 7 to 5. So then it becomes a thought of, okay, well, what do I do if I don't want to take that price? I hate saying it because I still don't have a lot of confidence in this horse at this level, but Skippy Longstocking, I think, is kind of the horse to maybe take a look at. Safi Joseph is really hot right now. The horse always tends to run okay. He just can't, get up there for that grade 1, but you kind of look at the rest of this field. It's like he can beat these other horses. So Skippy Longstocking is what I'm thinking about, and Disarm is what I'm thinking about as well. I really think he can bounce back, but Disarm and Skippy are kind of the same. They can't quite get up and actually win one of these big grade 1s, but eventually you'd think one of them's going to do it. Those are kind of the alternatives for me.
Yeah, I like that. The only other one for me off the top here that I kind of am just, and he's burned me so many times. It's like going back to a toxic ex-girlfriend, and you know how it's going to end, is Charge It. I feel like Charge It, when he fires, he just makes it look so good, Aaron. He really fools me. He looks so good.
I can't do it.
I know. But this is the kind of thing where you're like, of course he won when I just can't do it again.
Yeah.
And he's that for me, but I'm with you. I wouldn't do it. But yeah, that's another one. I don't blame people that are like just riding that into the ground because Charge It's one you've seen the magic from,
Let's get a couple comments in here real quick. Jeff Bauer comments. He says, National Treasure only won 4 races, certainly the one to beat, but I don't think he's a world beater. I don't necessarily disagree. I don't think he's like, let's think about Nick Go, who won this race I guess that's been like 3 years ago. He kind of turned into a world beater, right? Now I know, he didn't run well overseas. It kind of took a race to get back, but once he got to Brad Cox, like he was one you could be really confident in. National Treasure, you know, I think the problem I even have with him, I was going to say a lot of people, but I'll throw myself in with a lot of people. The jump he made was just so significant. And I think a lot of people have those thoughts of, the Santa Ana Derby and the Sham, and, where horses like Reincarnate were beating him, and Skinner finished ahead of him. And it's like, yeah, he's not that good. He's just a different horse since that Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, and I really, when I have to just look at those 4 races and go, okay, he's ran 4 races at the current, like, that's him. He won 2 of them. The 2 that he won were grade 1s. He was second by a nose to the horse of the year in the other grade 1. And the other race was the Saudi Cup, which is a crazy race. And he was 4th, only beating a length and a half in the richest race in the world. So he's not a world beater, but if you look at that set of 4 races, the other 11 aren't going to beat him if he runs one of those 4 races. That's where I kind of landed with it. But I don't necessarily disagree with the comment.
No, it's a great comment. And, Jeff, you could be totally proven right this weekend. And yep. I don't blame you for your feelings, man. And it is interesting. The more you watch racing, it's like Nick's Go was a great example you brought up a second ago, Aaron. Certainly a horse that if you turned your back on him, at a certain point, you didn't look crazy. And the lights went off, like, for a while. And then they went back on because he popped this great performance as a juvenile. Remember that, Aaron? Like, he popped one race, second to Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and then just went off. Yep. Man, 4 years old, he was, or whatever age he was, forgive me for off the top, but as an older horse, I mean, he was horse of the year unbeatable. So it is hard because you've got, with National Treasure, the one thing I know is they were so high on this horse as a 2-year-old. They really were. This isn't coming from nowhere is my point. Like, had it been, I'd be a lot easier to maybe go with that, Jeff, but I do know they expected greatness, and he's like, I'm not calling him great by any means, but I'm saying he is flashing like, what is he? And maybe he'll live up to it. That's
yeah. Yeah. I mean, final comment on National Treasure. Baffert always kind of said he's really, really good. I think he'll be good as he gets older. And I didn't really buy into it. It really took that Pegasus race, because at the Breeders' Cup Mile, I thought, well, he got out by himself and whatever. The Pegasus race kind of showed me it's like, yeah, okay, that's 2 in a row. He did it a different way. I think he's become what they thought he was going to become. But listen, I'm picking him. You're picking him. I'm not going to sit here and argue with people that are going against him, though, because there are 11 options out there. There's price options out there as well, and you can make a case for a lot of them. So I totally get it. So, all right, let's keep going, though. We got more races to cover. We got 2 more to cover. I'm scrolling up now. I really wanted to talk about the test. So let's go to the test. Race 8 on the card here on Saturday at Saratoga, the grade 1 test. 7 furlongs here for the 3-year-old fillies. Now, this is your shorter field of 6 horses, but we've got Ways and Means as a 7-5 favorite. I'll just kick it off here, Ryan. I really think Ways and Means is a very talented horse. And I think for the first time in a while, at least for Stakes Company, let's say, I thought the allowance was a good spot, obviously, last time. But for Stakes Company, I think she's in the right spot. I think she's not coming off a layoff. She's not going 2 turns, 7 furlongs, races under her belt. I think it's perfect for Ways and Means. What are your thoughts on the test?
Could not agree more. This is exactly where I've wanted to see her at this distance. I think this is a really seriously good field she's going to face as far as I feel like they're all exactly where they should be at this second in time. Well, the rest of the field.
Sorry not to cut you off, but if you remember when the field came out, I texted you and John and Jared in our group, and I said, I think Ways and Means gets her grade 1, gets her first stakes, all this stuff. And then I dove into the field, and Ron says, test, surprisingly very good race. Yes, the Emery's good. Denim and Pearls is good. My Main Squeeze isn't too bad. Bright Work coming off layoff. It's not as easy as I thought it would be when I just glanced at the overnights. But anyway, I'm sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
No, I'm glad you filled in the rest of the story for people. And I think, look, Bright Work and Ways and Means were on their way to a nice little rivalry last year, if you remember. And they met at Saratoga. And Bright Work won, and Ways and Means had an injury coming out of that race, as best as I can tell. She was gone, and Bright Work, she also kind of has been gone for a while. Obviously, she's coming back. I'm excited to see what they do here. It almost feels like round 2, and Bright Work's now gearing back up into racing with this. It's a tough race to come back into, Aaron. This is a tough one.
Yeah, I famous last words. I just feel like that it's a tough ass. I think Bright Work's going to need a race. So I'm not Again, famous last words. I'm not overly concerned about her. I think the 2 Brad Cox horses on the rail are interesting, and Emery comes into the race off 3 straight victories, including a grade 3 event at Belmont at the Big A last time out. And then Denim and Pearls is kind of a horse that was doing well, didn't show up for the 8 Bells, throwing her in the race here, getting Irad to ride. It kind of tells me they, back-to-back bullet workouts. Kind of tells me Denim and Pearls, they think this horse is going to run okay, or they wouldn't just throw her in here against one of their own, Emery, who's won 3 in a row, and Ways and Means. It's a long way of saying this will not be a cakewalk. Ways and Means will have to earn it.
Aaron, I love the way you laid that up. And like, I'm just going to ask on behalf of the fans, what do you do if you're not going Ways and Means here, right? Like, what do you do? You've got a whole freaking great smorgasbord of options right here. Like, what are you going to do, man? Help some people out here.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think my main squeeze, the 5 horse, is a really nice horse to play with Ways and Means and an exacta. It makes a little bit of sense. The horse 2 back, won at this distance, 7 furlongs, the 8 Bells at Churchill Downs, and did it really nicely. I think the horse, when sprinting or really going a mile or less, been very good. Last time out, stretched out to a mile and 1/8 to take on, a horse that I think's decent, Ryan, Torpedo Anna in the Acorn. So you're taking on Torpedo Anna and you're going a distance you probably don't want to go. Probably not going to go well. Also, 3 races back, took on another horse I think's pretty good, Torpedo Anna, and got beat. If you take off the losses to Torpedo Anna at distances we don't really think my main squeeze wants to go, she's won 4 in a row. She's won 4 out of 6 as it is. But you move the goalposts to things she likes to do against company she, I would assume, enjoys running against. I mean, that's pretty good.
I mean, wow. When you really do put it that way, that's perfectly said. And I think I don't blame you with that. What do you do with the Brad Cox? Do you like one more than the other? Where do you go there if you're looking in that angle?
Anytime he enters 2 horses, it's harder than hell to read. I think the number 1 Emery is better than the number 2 Denim and Pearls. But the fact that Denim and Pearls is in the race and gets Irad is a little bit like, that's interesting. You know what I mean? Like maybe the barn likes that too and how the 2's working. But look, just on paper, I like the 1 better than the 2. So like at 4-5-1, that's kind of how I look at it here. And then we'll just kind of see how some of these other horses, talking. I don't think the 3 has a chance. The 2 on paper just doesn't look like she's quite good enough. And then we talk about the 6 Bright Work. It's twofold for me. Okay, she was great, 4 for 4. She stretched out twice and just didn't look good at all. We are getting back to 1 turn. I think that's good, but man, that's just off of a layoff. It's really tough to think that she comes into this race and can win. But I do think she's got the talent. She's got to step up, though. None of her numbers are close. So we got to see big improvement out of her. But it's the first race of a 3-year-old, and you can see improvement with that. So, but 4-5 for me.
I love it. And last question on this. If you were like constructing like a pick 4 ticket, a pick 5 ticket, pick 6, and you don't have to give who you would, but like how deep do you recommend people go for that? Because this is a tough one. I can't fault someone for what they want to do here, but
yeah, it depends on what this thing is part. This race is part of either 2 or 3 different pick 5s. I think it's 2. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, it depends on what races they're kind of coupled in with, how far you go. I think you have to use Ways and Means. I think in one of them I went 3 deep, one of the pick 5s, because I've got a horse I like a lot in in a different race, so I could go short there. Where in another sequence, it's like, ooh, this is the horse I like the best in the sequence, so I'll go short here, and had to kind of play it like that. But I think if you use the 4 and the 5, you're going to be in pretty good shape. And if you can sprinkle that 1 in there, if your budget's big enough and you can find a way, I would do that.
Awesome.
So,
yeah.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's go to the last race we're going to talk about today, and we're going to get on the bus here. I about called you Magic. Get on the bus here, Ryan, and go to. I've worked with Magic today too much. Go to Del Mar. Let's go to Del Mar. I think this is sneaky, maybe. I'm not going to call it the best because the Whitney's really good. This is a damn good race. Race 10 on the card, Saturday at Del Mar. It is the Grade 1 Clement L. Hirsch Stakes. A mile and a 16th, $400,000 the purse here. Field of 8. The favorite is number 2, Adari Manor. But we've got 2 major shippers coming in here with the number 3, Cilia, and the number 8, Pretty Mischievous. All right, Ryan, I know, though, you're a Cali guy, so are you sticking with your Cali girl? That's the question.
I have to. I have to. No, I really am. I think Bafford's horse, she might be the best of the older, division for girls. I mean, like, honestly, look, here's the deal. Idiomatic is like, she reminds me of like Michael Phelps when he came back for like some of those ones towards the end there where he's like, yeah, he's winning, but he's just not dominating. The guy is getting older. He's doing this. Idiomatic is doing great, but it looks like they're getting closer and closer. Why couldn't she beat Idiomatic if they were to meet?
Mm-hmm.
And let's just be honest here. If anyone's going to beat Idiomatic, right? Like, she has been beat, I get it. But if anyone's going to beat Idiomatic out west, if anyone out there, it's coming out of this field. That is what is so exciting. I mean, Cilia, pardon me if I bomb that name, she is a very, very good horse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, daughter of closed hatches, Mott trains her. He's getting her to peak at the right time. Pretty mischievous. Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. I mean, Champion looked not so great this year, but like, I can't count her out just fully yet because why hasn't she been retired? If they felt it was completely no chance in this race, I don't think they'd just keep throwing her at her. There's no reason to. So I'm not saying I'd go that way. And Desert Dawn is a nice horse too that I could see hitting some superfectas even. I mean, I'm just saying, like, these are some nice horses in this field. It's no walkover, man. And I am dying to know what you do with this. I mean, are you going with my Cali girl? Where do you land?
Yeah, so Ron's mentioning that Randomized did beat Idiomatic. We're talking about the out west horses, and I guess that Cilia gets lumped into this and Pretty Mischief because they're out here for this race. So,
thank you.
Look, I think here's the deal. I think Idiomatic, I think she might be about cooked. I didn't mind the loss at Saratoga. We got talked after I think we either text or I called you after we talked about it, and it's like, look, everything. Even though it was like a short field, it's like everything that could go wrong kind of went wrong. All the little things went wrong in that race for Idiomatic and Randomized beat her. The race at Monmouth last time out, that was not good. That on paper, Idiomatic should win pretty easily. That was a dogfight.
Yeah, I'm with you, Aaron. I just want to piggyback what you said about the randomized. And for that person, sorry, I'm excited about this race. I meant out west because Cilia's here. Obviously, we're talking about horses that could challenge her. And I agree with you. I think when she lost to randomized, it was a case of overconfidence. I think that they felt like we had this field beat. We don't have to give it maybe as much as we'll need to. We're cranking her up. And every little thing went wrong. And it proved that, like, she's not that good at this moment in time to have little things go wrong and still win races. Mm-hmm. And I am with you, man. I think the next race out proved, okay, maybe there's more coming on here because 2 in a row, it's just not looking good.
No, I agree. Kevin B says, have you ever tried to race at Monmouth after a night out at the Jersey Shore? That could have been it. Also, it was a weird day at Monmouth. There was a lot of weird things happen. But anyway, I digress. Okay, I'm going to go Cilia on top. I'm going to try to beat Adari Manor here. I'm going to just play the 2 and the 3. I don't have a lot of interest in Pretty Mischievous, but I'm going to play Cilia on top. I think the price is going to be right. I think she's poised to run a big one. I think she's going to be tough. So I'm going to go with her. Here's the deal. So this is kind of my long range thinking of this. If I'm right, and Idiomatic's kind of starting to regress a little bit, and I keep thinking in the back of my head, okay, Torpedo Anna, everybody's like, that horse can win the distaff for sure. If Torpedo Anna goes out and wins the Travers and runs, a race that takes a lot out of her, could she maybe not run at the Breeders' Cup? Could she bounce? Like I don't think she's like a lock to win this the distaff this year because her big bullet might come at the Travers, right? And you just don't know how it's going to shake out. So then, if you play it like that, now. If she's there, she's 100% for distaff. She's going to be really tough to beat. But if you think there might be a chink in the armor after the Travers, and you don't really like Idiomatic, well, this race becomes really a huge race, doesn't it? And so that's why I think I'm a little more excited for this maybe than some, because it's like this has major implications. The Clement L. Hirsch, it's hit or miss. Some years it's not great. Some years it's okay. I think this is the best one we've had in a while when it comes to trying to produce Breeders' Cup horses and winners. Because you do have Adari Manor. The thing is, she ran in the Breeders' Cup Distaff last year. It was her home track. She got 7th, beaten 3 lengths. I think she's a little better so far this year, but she's iffy, right? But she can kind of be that measuring stick. Like if Celia could come out here and beat her, well, that kind of shows you, she might be the best, right? If she can go out there and beat her by a couple. Or if she loses, it might say, well, maybe Adari Manor's the horse this year. So I think this is a pivotal race. You can throw Pretty Mischievous in there. You can throw Desert Dawn in there as well. Horses that are decent. If they can get a win here, it means a lot.
I think you nailed it. And I honestly, man, Bill Mott might be the best trainer in the United. I mean, I know he is the reigning best trainer in the United States.
Right.
But we're talking about he might be the best at this minute proven to just get these horses to peak at the Breeders'. I mean, he just did it so spectacularly last year, getting 3 Breeders' Cup wins.
Yep.
He gets his hand on a nice one here, and he always seems to get the best out of his horses, right? Celia just does look, she looks like a horse that you cannot look past, and I will not be shocked if she wins here. I just feel like Adari Manor is the one. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I just feel like she is the one to beat, and I'm going to go with her. But I respect your opinion and think I will be not shocked in the least if she's beaten here.
Well, don't you kind of feel like, to kind of wrap it up on this one, to me, and I'll see if you agree, I guess is how I should phrase this. She's the standard in California. So I almost feel like I did not think Mott or really Walsh would ship these 2 horses out. But I'm glad he did, because I think if you go out there, all things being equal, you get the trips you want, everything else, and Adari Manor outruns you, you kind of know and understand who you are, right? You kind of know I'm probably not going to win the Breeders' Cup Distaff if I can't go out here and win this race, because you got to think the waters will be a little bit deeper for the Breeders' Cup. So I like that they're out here. I think Adari Manor is the standard out in California going this far. I know, there's other horses sprinting that maybe are a little bit better than her, but I think this distance, she's the standard.
Well put. I can't argue. And you even made me more excited for it. And look, what's great, guys, we've got championship potential across the board in this, this little push towards the Breeders' Cup here. And it's just an exciting weekend. And if it's anything like the last 2 we've had, we're in for a real treat. And I can't wait to see it. And I'm excited for betting. I think people are going to make some money this weekend.
Oh, they're two great betting cards, 2 absolutely fantastic betting cards. I love, for people that want to go against National Treasure, you've got plenty of options and plenty of prices. That's great. I think if you're against Adari Manor, like I am, pick your price here. People in the chat like Desert Dawn. I mean, she's going to be the prize. Go for it. She's beaten Adari Manor before. It's been a while, but she beat her. It's out there for you. The test even. Look, I mean, it's a short field. You're not going to get a great price on like a win wager on somebody, but it's still, you've got options. So that's what it's all about. So to recap, we're both going National Treasure. We're both going Ways and Means. And then you're going to go with Adari Manor, and I'm going to go with Skillia. All right. That's it for the previews. Now you've requested this. You want to talk 2-year-olds, and I'm down for it. I think it's fun. You've got a list of 5 2-year-olds. Or was it 6? I can't remember.
5. I got my top 5. No order. Just, it never hurts to talk 2-year-olds, does it? I mean, it's exciting. It's the season.
Yep. And I think this is a good weekend, because I'm going to piggyback on your list and kind of talk about it. And then we'll talk about Saratoga has major 2-year-old racing coming up on Saturday. So it all ties together. But anyway, let's hear your 5 horses.
Well, let's start at the first 2-year-old of my 5 that we saw this past weekend. And Aaron picked this winner, this maiden debut winner, Chancer McPatrick. An incredible just performance, if you see it, in my opinion. Didn't look like he had any chance of getting there. Totally won this race. If you guys haven't seen it, he won at Saratoga. Overall, really, I've been friends with Aaron now for I don't even know how many years. And this might have been the first time you text me a race and you're like, you got to see this maiden special weight that's coming. Yeah. I mean, Serengeti Empress had a son in there. It was loaded.
It was.
And Chancellor McPatrick, just if you guys haven't seen it, it was a work of art. I can go through the list, Aaron, or you can piggyback on what I'm saying. I don't want to
keep going through your list, and I'll talk at the end. Yeah, keep going.
I loved this performance out at Del Mar from a Baffert horse named Getaway Car. I don't know if you guys have caught it yet, but please do. Some people think it's the most impressive 2-year-old debut they saw. And all this is subjective. It was an exciting performance. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more from Getaway Car. And especially since it's a Baffert trained horse. And I know every single horse racing fan knows Baffert has been waiting to come back to Churchill Downs. So this year, all eyes were on the Baffert 2-year-olds because we know he's going to try to make his statement next year. He's always going to, but it's very exciting. Moplex has to be in the top 5 after what he just did out in Saratoga, for me at least, because, look, he won that big race. Menti didn't show up, and you can say what you want, but solid performance. I give him respect. Yep. I then honestly have these last 2, and they were in the same race. Menti and Colloquial, to me, were phenomenal. You got Menti, who is the either full or half brother to Fierceness. And he went out there and he broke a track record or a race. He broke a record in this race. I apologize for not having it off the top of my head here, and Colloquial, who was second there, was a nose behind him. Basically, one has to think he must have been very close to, or if not, also breaking the track record himself in defeat. So you have this incredible performance, and I think they got a number in the 80s for their debut, which is a very solid number for a maiden special weight. So, look, I think what we are seeing, guys, is a pretty exciting crop of 2-year-olds coming together. McKinsey, I don't know if you guys were catching it this weekend, but McKinsey had, coast to coast winners. One at Del Mar, one over at Saratoga, who looked great. I think we're in for a real treat. I think we could be seeing something really special this year if you guys are following the 2-year-olds. Looks really nice.
I was gonna mention McKinsey Street was the horse at Del Mar that you were talking about. There was a Bob Baffert horse in there, Emerald Bay. I think let me make sure that's that. Yeah, Emerald Bay was the Baffert horse. Got bet hard. Well, it's a Baffert first time starter. I get it, but McKinsey Street just kicked Emerald Bay's ass. I mean, it was really impressive. So McKinsey Street is another one I'd throw in there. Chancellor McPatrick. That race was so loaded, and I was talking to some people who are like, I'm not gonna bet that brown horse. I'm like, God, I don't know, man. I keep looking at this horse, like I really like him. I cussed myself 99% of that race. I was like, you're so dumb. You had Pletcher and Asmussen and all these pedigrees, and you picked Brown. It's so stupid. And then like halfway on the stretch, I'm like, well, he's not gonna embarrass me at least. And then it's like, oh my God, he's gonna win. So the thing with Chancer, people are like, yeah, that's the new Sierra Leone. I'm like, well, if you look at his workouts, he was showing some pretty fast works. So I think he's got speed. I think he was just kind of green early. So anyway.
One of your better, but let me just give you credit. One of your better picks. To me, it's so hard. Kudos to anyone who picks any winner. John White will tell you that anytime. Yeah, right. And Aaron will tell you that anytime. But 2-year-old maidens at Saratoga in a salty field, you're flying blind without radar, right? It's a little hard. You can just use the morning workouts, but till they show up on the track, you don't know. And congratulations. It looked like a very, very promising horse, Aaron. Great call.
Yeah, it was fun. It's always fun to get it right. A Getaway Car I thought was superb. I really liked the looks of that horse. Very good Baffert first time starter, no doubt about it there. So yeah, I think it's a good list. I mean, you kind of text me at, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago. I was like, I like your list. Like I can't argue with any of them, but it's just so darn early. Into that, there are, let me make sure I get the number right. There are 1, 2, 3. There are 4 maiden special weights, 4 2-year-olds on the Whitney Day card. They're all early in the day. Race 1, 2, 5, and 6. So race 1 is on the turf. And Kevin B says the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf winner is running race 1 Saturday, number 9. He's talking about Asbury Park, 9 to 2 in the morning line, a first-time starter for Chad Brown. IRAD aboard. The sire is Frankel out of a Street Cry dam. So incredible pedigree here. However, there are incredible pedigrees all over this turf maiden. That's going to open up the day. That's at 12:05 Eastern time. So get to Saratoga early or turn on can't turn on Twin Spires, but any of your other ADWs to watch that race early. Don't forget about it. So there's that one. There's a New York bred maiden special weight race 2. And then race 5 and race 6, maiden special weights going 6 furlongs. They had 19 horses enter the race, so they split it into 2. That's why you see those back to back. And Ryan, I don't think they're loaded pedigree wise like that race was last week, but anytime you got 19 of these guys running, Saratoga, it's Whitney Day. You're going to see a couple big timers. So I think my prediction is you're going to add a couple to your list after this coming weekend.
Wow, that's incredibly exciting. And one thing is they say it's too early to talk Derby, but is it ever too excited to get excited? When it comes to horse racing, that's some of the fun about this is maybe I'll see that next big horse. And honestly, guys, one thing that is so interesting to me is I was thinking about this, Aaron. Even if you had the Derby winner, you might lose the Derby anyways. I mean, I was thinking about Pletcher's hand this year and how heartbreaking it is to be Todd Pletcher when you think about it in some ways. And believe me, no one's crying for Pletcher. But born noble, fierceness, mind frame. He had that Speakeasy horse. I'm even probably forgetting a 5th horse there.
Oh, by the way, Speakeasy came back and he won on last week on the undercard. Anyway, go ahead.
No, it's just good for Speakeasy too. I mean, he's a nice one. It's just my point is Todd Pletcher had his hands on 4 of these guys and walked away with not a single Triple Crown race. Fierceness. All these guys are so talented. So, it just goes to show you guys, when we're talking about luck in betting, any of us would love to have that hand at a poker table and you can walk away with nothing. So, winning is hard. And good luck to everyone this weekend. We're in for a real treat, and best of luck cashing, because we all could use a little extra luck. I'll send it out there to the Racing Dudes fans.
Absolutely. I love that. And I got a comment. Christopher Maiello says, who will be the next Dublin? It was a show a couple weeks ago. I said, my first day ever at Saratoga, Dublin, broke his maiden. And then he went on to win the Hopeful. And so who's the next Dublin? Well, Dwayne Lucas, if you want to go with the Dublin angle, we'll call it, has 2 horses in these maiden special weights. He has the 4 Code of Justice in the 5th race at 15-1. And then in the 6th race, he has the number 6 horse Ripped at 15-1. So Ripped is interesting by City of Light. Love the name, by the way. So I know a lot of my peeps will be at the Paddock Bar. They'll be Ripped on Saturday. The 6 is by, Ripped is by City of Light, and then Into Mischief sires the 4 Code of Justice. So if you're looking for the next Dublin, there's your candidates there for Saturday. So, well, listen, we've covered it. I feel like this has been the most efficient Blinkers Off maybe ever.
It's been fun. It's been great. Why don't we leave it with one last question, Aaron? Do we see the Horse of the Year decided this weekend?
Okay, I don't think we see it decided, but could we see the Horse of the Year running this weekend? Absolutely.
Very exciting. I mean, what more can you ask for then? That's an exciting, very exciting.
To me, I think the Whitney situation always should. It's a type of race where if you don't see the Horse of the Year, you at least see a big candidate for the Horse of the Year. I know Cody's Whistle lost the Whitney, but you saw the Horse of the Year. Nick's Go won the Whitney. He was the Horse of the Year. The Year Life is Good won it. That was before Flightline had run in the Pacific Classic, and it was if Flightline, we don't really know what he is. We kind of did, but we don't officially know what he is yet. He misses races. What if he misses it? Well, this could be the Horse of the Year, so.
Absolutely. And hey, we get to see the fastest horse in the world in Cogburn running, it's just
the real Horse of the Year, baby. The real Horse of the Year's back. That's my favorite horse in training, Ryan.
Oh, you can't miss him, right? I mean, every time he's there, you've got to watch. And
when we watch, I know I've talked about it, but we were watching the Belmont, or we were at the Belmont and we watched that race. Heather was like, you've not shut up about this horse. And this was after the performance. I was like, I've been very lucky to see some of the best horses. And I'm not saying that's the best performance I've ever seen. I said it's one of them. That was breathtaking to watch. And does that mean he wins? Does that mean he bounces Saturday? I don't know. But I'm going to tell you something. They're not beating him if he shows up with his race, because nobody's beating that horse. He set a North American record. I don't know if he can do it again or not, but I am super excited because that really caught my breath that day. That was worth. I didn't really care what happened after I saw it. And it was one of those situations. We were standing right when he they asked him to go a little bit in the stretch. And it was just like, whoa, I've never seen a horse run that fast and then still kick it in when they ask him a little bit. So yeah, it was awesome. Anyway.
Man, got me pumped, and I can't wait to see what we see this weekend from him and from all these horses. It's going to be epic, man. It's going to be
all
epic.
right. Before we go, though, we do have to. Kevin B is really worried about the moss artwork in your background. So he needs to know: is it real moss? And if not, where can he purchase it? Or because he really likes it.
Kevin, I wish I knew. My wife picked it out, but it is real moss. I don't know where you can buy it, but
so it is real.
It is real.
That's not a photo. Wow.
It's not a photo, and hopefully next time I'm on your show, I'll have the spot for our boy Kevin to get some from it. You know,
ooh, that's good news for Kevin.
But
he needs a lot of help. Like his favorite racing dude is Jared, so he clearly needs help.
Well, you know what? That's hilarious. And my wife just texted me from the other room. It is from Etsy. So there you go.
He's right here. My wife would like to purchase. So yeah, Etsy. Who farted says Home Depot. You probably could get. I would imagine you could go get moss places. I've never shopped for it, but
there you go.
Yeah.
You know, all you have to do is hit the pick 6 this weekend, and you can walk away with tons of moss. It wasn't that much. So Kevin B says she listens to this too much. The wife married on Belmont Day would like to find this. All right. Well, hey, I'll tell my wife, guys. Yeah, go to Etsy. Go to Etsy.com.
Yeah, Kevin, if you don't know, Ryan, Kevin B did get married on Belmont Stakes Day.
Now that's a real race fan right there. Right? Because you know that he watched the Belmont on. It's like he doubled up on the excitement that day. I'm getting married and I'm watching the Belmont there.
You missed one of the funniest moments in the history of Racing Dudes YouTube. He said he didn't know the result, right? And he said, somebody came and told me that Dornoch won the Belmont. He said the look on my face rivaled when they told George Bush about 9/11 and he was in that classroom. I almost could not finish the show. I was laughing so hard at the comment. So yeah.
Listen, he's a legendary poster. We have to admit. I've never seen Mosswall look that good on a wall.
Yeah.
Look, thanks, man. I am appreciative of it. And definitely check out Etsy. And look, this is why you got to tune in to Blinkers Off. You never know what you're going to see. Come for the picks, stay for the Etsy recommendations of the Mosswall. You know,
I just love that after all this, nothing really sunk into Kevin's head except for the Mosswall, which by the way, I didn't even notice. This has been the best show for my life. Well,
Kevin.
Yeah. Well, you're making everybody here at Racing Dude better, Kevin. So. Okay, well, I think we've helped enough people. So, yes, sir, door not just wired.
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think we've done it all. We've said it all, as Howard Stern would say. Yeah. So I think we've covered it. Ryan, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Final thoughts. Good luck on your betting this weekend, guys. Good luck to all of the jockeys and horses. Let them come home safe. And look, let's just get to this Breeders' Cup. It looks like to me, I mean this honestly, it's shaping up to be a pretty exciting year. These last 2 weekends were absolutely off the chart. The racing has been phenomenal. So let's see one more of those. That's my final thought. Fingers crossed for that,
All right, well, we're going to get out of here. Should I play the opening since I played the closing to start the show?
Let's do it. Let's switch it up, man.
We'll play the opening. All right, guys, thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. We'll be right back here next week, so don't worry. There'll be more. All right, guys, everybody have a great weekend. I echo what Ryan said. Good luck to everybody betting. These are the weekends as horse players we dream about, we think about all year. It's here. It's Saturday. Go have a fucking blast. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.